It's true.
Hi, this is Widowed Not Alone, and I have my group from January of 2019. They call themselves Groupies, and I'm going to start asking each person about what the group was to them. So, Tina, you can go first.
Okay. So I was 3 weeks out when I contacted Catherine, and I knew that I had a good family and friend support system, but I felt like I needed something more, something that they couldn't give me. So I reached out to Catherine, and I didn't expect her to answer the phone. It was like 6:30 on a Friday night, and she picked up, and I joined the group. I started, I think it was January 18th, I'm thinking, or January 11th. Anyway, it was the best thing I ever could have done. It helped me emotionally and socially. I feel like my group has become my family, and I really don't know what I would do without them. My friends that I had before my husband passed, they're couple friends. So when I get together with them, it just, it feels like there's something missing all the time. So when I ended up being with my friends, from the group, um, it felt more natural because they all had experienced what I had experienced. And that, um, I mean, that just made everything so much better. And it felt like family. And we met even after the 8-week program. We still kept meeting up every week, like at the diner or wherever, at each other's houses, or if we went out somewhere. And I think that's very important, to keep meeting every week after those 8 weeks, because you grow as a group and you become
Absolutely.
closer and you become more family oriented. Like, we would have our kids there too. So our kids got to know each other. And, like, honestly, there's nothing that I wouldn't do for my groupies. And I'm sure there's nothing that they wouldn't do for me. So I just love them. They're my family, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so thankful for you, Catherine, because if you wouldn't answer that phone that night, I don't know what I would have done. So that's my story.
That's great. Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
Carrie?
I joined the group. I believe I was a little like a week and a half out, and my friend had told me to go online, and Lisa Bruins, another girl, reached out to me and gave me your number. And that night when you called, I was literally walking in circles in my kitchen. I was out of my mind, and you were like, "Come to the group," and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk into a bunch of strangers. And I walked in the room, and immediately you just feel comfortable, even though all I did was cry. I constantly cried. Then the next week you were like, come sit next to me. It'll be fine. And then every single person was just, they just knew how you felt. And suddenly you just don't feel alone. And you said it would take a little bit of time to look forward to it. By week 3, I couldn't wait to come to group. And we all spoke to each other. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning. I remember Maria called one time. Are you all right? Are you up? Because someone's always up. You go on the group, someone's always up. Your feelings, everybody knows how you feel, and suddenly you don't feel so alone. But I
When
told
you came to the group, how long was it that you lost Mike?
it was like a week and a half.
Oh, it was right away. Yeah.
So I don't know what the date was that we started, but he passed on the 28th of December. So
January 9th. We started January 9th.
so what are we talking? 10 days tops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rough, and I didn't know what to do. None of my friends
I'm glad you joined, because sometimes people very early like that don't want to join. And I believe in my heart of hearts that I needed a group right away.
right away.
And that's why I would never reject anyone that needed a group right away.
And immediately we all kind of clicked, we all bonded. And then it was so important to keep it up after, we went to Bertucci's that night, and we all made a pact that we would definitely keep seeing each other. And we just did. We do birthdays. We don't miss a birthday. We don't miss a holiday.
I know, I see all your pictures.
It's a given that we're good. We're doing our birthdays together.
Yeah.
And you just know that when you're having a day, everybody, they just get it. No, where other people, I could say, some people will say to me, "Oh, well, it's going to be 3 years for you." okay, really? It still doesn't matter. We know,
That's right.
but without the group and without the support system, I honestly have no idea what I would have done. So thank you, Catherine, and
Thank-
I love you all. You're
Thank you for sharing, Carrie. Maria?
So I joined the group exactly 1 year to the day that my husband passed. I had reached out to Catherine. I want to say it was about 6 months after my husband passed in 2018, but for reasons with my kids, I couldn't join the fall. So Catherine said, "Oh, I'll call you when we start the winter." So Catherine, I don't know if she called me and told me that the first meeting was on January 9th. And I said to Catherine, I cannot physically go to this meeting on the night of my husband's anniversary. And she said to me, "Why not? Why not?" And I said, "How can I do that?" So unbeknownst to me, I was going to the meeting regardless because my sisters were going to drive me. So I was going regardless. So I went. And I'm going to be honest, I felt no place in this group because of the situation of how my husband passed. I felt no connection. I just felt like I was in a room and I was alone again. I didn't feel like anyone understood me. I didn't think anyone would understand my grief, my anger, my entire feeling. And meetings were on Wednesdays. And I went to the first meeting and I went to the second meeting and then realized that I think it was the third meeting or the fourth meeting that fell on my birthday. And I said, "This is my way out. I won't go to my meeting. I won't go to the meeting on my birthday and I'll never go back." And somebody called me the night before my birthday. And that was Catherine. And she said, I'll never forget, I was in Home Depot with my daughter. And she said to me, "Oh, I wanted to see how you are. I just wanted to make sure you were coming tomorrow." And I had just said to my daughter, "I'm not going to the meeting tomorrow because it's my birthday. I want to spend it with you and your brother and your sister. I'm not going." And immediately, as I said I wasn't going, my phone rang and it was Catherine. So she said to me, "Nope, you have to come. I have to see you for your birthday. I have to give you a birthday hug. You have to come. You have to come. You have to come." So I went. And Catherine, do you remember what you told me?
I don't.
Catherine said to me, when we had a break in between, and Catherine pulled me to the side and said, "For some reason last night, I had this feeling you were never going to show up again, and that's why I called you." And I'm like, "Oh my God,
Sometimes
how
feel
did you
that
know
with
that?"
people. Yeah. I sometimes
And I
feel that
started-
with people by their body language. I don't know. And I do have to say this. There's a lot of times people within the group think they don't belong because of their loss.
Right.
But the thing is that everyone in the group has a broken heart. So sometimes people say, "Well, I'm 15 months and like she's a week. I don't belong in this group." Or "I'm gay and they're not. I don't belong." I'm like, "Do you have a broken heart?" Because if your heart is broken, I don't care about those things. Because this is the group of those who have broken hearts that need help going forward.
So, like Carrie said, I completely owe my life to you, Catherine, and to every single one of those people in that room because we've never stopped talking. We've cried together. We've laughed together. We've started screaming at each other together. We would rip each other's hair out. We would just sit in corners, or laugh until we peed our pants, whatever. But we did it, and we did it together. And I cannot say, there's no words to say thank you, Catherine, because you gave me an amazing family. I have an amazing family. I have an amazing, but you gave me another family that I just can't, there's nothing I can do to say thank you. They're just an amazing group of men and women. And every night I say, thank God for them.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Maria. Monica?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I lost my husband in August of 2018. And the morning that he passed away, he worked at a hospital, and his friend, she's also already part of the group. And the morning of his passing, she came up to me and she said, "I lost my husband 2 years ago. I know what you're going through. there is help, there is support. And she gave me her number and she said, when you're ready, call me and I'm going to connect you to support. So, you know, I'm like, okay, I just took the number. And a month later, I knew I needed more than my family. And you know, I had great family support, but I needed more. I needed something else. It wasn't right. So I called her up and she told me about the group. And then she gave me your number, Catherine. So I remember I reached out to you and I was on the Cubs side. I could have started the fall group, but I just really, I didn't know if I was ready to do it. So I promised that I would do winter. And I'm so glad I did because I mean, I'm sure the other group's wonderful, but I feel this is the group. This is the
I
group
always feel
that
like that's meant to be, you know?
yeah, this is the group that I was meant to be in,
Mhm.
you know, and because like I said, I didn't know what I needed. I learned so much in the group and things that resonated with me the most was when you told us, because I have children, at the time they were 12 and 8, that they only have one childhood. And I think of that every single morning when I wake up. I'm like, they only have one childhood. I have to get up and I have to give them the best childhood they can get because the worst thing happened to them already. And
Already, yeah.
they deserve more. You know, they deserve to
right.
have whatever I could give them is what I do. You know, I'll go
That's
crazy and do
awesome,
whatever.
Monica. I know
You
it's a
know.
sacrifice and I know how hard it is to do it,
Mhm.
but don't we want to do whatever we can for our kids, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. People think I'm crazy. Like, how do you go here, drop off this kid here, then you run and drop off that kid there to come back to pick up this kid, then to pick up that kid? Because I want them to still experience as much as a childhood they could have experienced if my husband was still here.
I just wish
And
somebody would have told me that. You know, that's why I share that with everyone because I wish
Mhm.
somebody would have told me that. I mean, it's like you know it, but you don't know it because you're grieving so heavy that
Right.
you can't think of the common sense things that, like, you
Right.
know, okay, their life is already compromised. Now they're losing you too. And
Exactly.
so many kids lose both parents during grief, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your own experiences because that must be hard to do as well, you know. And but I learned so much from everything you showed us, from that picture I always think of that you had of the road, the two roads, and the road that's closed, and then the road that's open. And whenever I feel that I'm getting stuck or want to go backwards, I always have to mentally I picture that. I would love to get that picture. Do you know which one that I'm talking about, Catherine?
it was a meme that I posted. You could go either way, right?
Right, and one of them is
Choice.
closed, and
Yeah,
one of
it's
them
your
is closed.
choice. You can go either way. Yeah.
Right, and like this road you no longer can go because your husband, obviously your spouse isn't there, so that road is closed, and you know. So
Right.
I always have to keep that in my mind too whenever I feel that I'm going
Thank you, Monica.
backwards, and
Yeah.
like I can't stay in the past. I need to keep moving forward because that road is closed, and that's why this group is so amazing, and you know everybody understands what I'm talking about. You know, we become a family on our own. You know, we see each other all the time. We talk, we text almost every day. You know, someone's feeling down, we all jump in there and we all talk to them and give them encouragement. I would be so lost without my group. You know, this is my family now. You know, as much as I love my family, this is my family. You know,
And it's amazing to me because I see when you guys come in and you're all broken, you know, and then I see as the weeks go on how I see you start changing and I see how you start connecting with each other. And then I see when we go around the room how somebody will say, I can't wait for Wednesdays,
yeah,
you know, and that's always been something that I look for because I'm a visual person. I look at body language. I look at what people are going through. And that always resonates with me when I see the photos of the parties and you guys laughing. I'm like, look at them. They're having a good time. They're good.
yeah. And I like the smaller group environment. I think that's
Yeah.
definitely helpful because overall, like my overall personality, I'm definitely more laid back and introverted, and I'm more comfortable in a smaller setting versus the larger setting.
Yeah, but you had a lot of people in your group that you connected with, considering,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And I think the more you got comfortable with your group, because you've come to our gatherings as well, where we have a lot of
Yes.
people, but you have your group, so you're comfortable. You're not going
Exactly.
alone. And I think that makes a difference also when you're in a group and then when we have something larger. But thank
Exactly. I think it's perfect. I think that's the best way to do it, because honestly, if you just had these huge gatherings and not the small, I don't know if I would have went, because my overall
Right.
personality is more.
honestly, I wouldn't have gone either.
Yeah. So
I
I
wouldn't do
like,
that either. You know,
Yeah.
that would, I do what I would do for myself. Like before you guys meet, I have you do an icebreaker where you meet each other and you talk, but you're not talking about your loss or anything, just to get to know each other. And that's because I was uncomfortable when I was in a room and I had to talk about my loss or different things that happened with strangers. And I always want people to have that comfortable feeling with each other before they have to sit around the circle. So
You know what?
exactly.
just did that.
That actually was one of the things that I was so nervous about when I went my first night, because it was 3 weeks. And I was like, I don't think I can go through talking about what happened, because I'm going to break down. And I didn't want to break down in front of a bunch of strangers. So the fact that you said we can't talk about our loss, that actually made things better for me. And I was more apt to come back the next week because I didn't have to talk about my loss. So I just wanted
Correct.
to add that in.
I don't want it to be a room full of people crying about their losses, because I
Yeah.
don't think I think you could cry at home alone. You don't need to be with a group to do that. I think you need the group for the support and going forward, not sitting around crying. It's like misery loves company. Yeah,
Right.
for so long, right? There
Yeah.
are times where you're going to cry about something, but listening, let's say if we had 10 people in a room and everyone's sharing their grief, it's like, that's traumatic for everyone. You're grieving and then you got to take on everyone else's, and you're all empathetic because you all went through it. So
Right.
let me give Peter and Cindy a chance to talk here. You have to unmute, Peter. There we go. Okay, Peter and Cindy.
Go. You're up.
Okay, so for me, what I most liked about the group was it was spouse only, and it was your age group, which what I was looking for. And it's not easy to find because there's not many places that offer that. All the other grief groups that I saw, they all did just general group where it's aunts, uncles, grandparents. It's
Right.
not just spouse only. And it's a big difference. So
I
I've been
think
through
so.
different losses, and when you lose your spouse, it's a whole nother ball game. So that's why I loved going to this group, because it's with people who get exactly what you're going through. And you can relate to them way more than you can relate to people who had other losses.
Absolutely.
So that was really big. And then our group, like everybody said, was just, we clicked and we've been together ever since.
Epic.
Yep.
That's great. And you met Cindy in our group.
Yeah.
We did.
Second group.
Second
Oh, the
group.
second group. So that's another
Yeah.
thing that I do that I don't know if other groups do or not. So you did one group and you needed more, so I allowed you to repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the repeated group is where you met Cindy.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember, Catherine, I repeated too. I had come very early on, just like Tina and I actually have the same date of loss. So I came very early on, and you put me in a room with all these women, and I was just sitting there with tears, and everyone else was talking and laughing, and I was just broken would be the right word. So I left, and I didn't think that I could come back. And I actually went to my sister's party in Florida, and I was standing alone at the bar, and one of your former members came up to me.
I remember this.
Howard,
now.
and and it was just that moment where I was feeling overly sad, standing at the bar by myself. And he's like, no, you have to go back. And I came back and I met my people. And the one thing I'm going to say is nobody's alone in our group, because we make sure we celebrate everybody's birthday, and we are just the most amazing support group. I'm so grateful to them. And I'm so grateful to you. You are like an angel on earth. The work that you do, I mean, I appreciate you every day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, that expression, nothing is impossible because you survived the unimaginable, it's true. I think we were all kind of okay with the COVID, which was,
Because you had each other,
we
right?
we had each other, and this seemed like, okay, we could get through this. But my heart breaks for all of those people that lost their spouse during COVID, because the whole big thing about grief is the loneliness. It could eat you up inside. And so I'm so grateful for my people, because that's the last thing I ever feel is alone.
So,
They
and that's,
know I love them.
yeah, and that's,
And we
that's,
love you.
and that's real important because people have preconceived notions of what a support group is. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's why I
Yes.
wanted to do this with the group, because people are like, oh, it's not for me. Or, I don't think I should stay in this group because of this or that. Or they just have all these, or they start it and then they drop out because they have these thoughts. Sometimes somebody will say something in the group and they'll be highly sensitive to what someone else said. And they'll say, okay, this isn't for me. They don't even give us a chance.
Right.
Sometimes people say things. I can't help what somebody else says in a room.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, as much as we've cried, we've laughed. And that's like the one thing I'm going to say about my group. It's true. We've
That's-
laughed a lot.
That's great to hear. I
Yeah.
can tell from the pictures on Facebook that you guys are having a good time together.
Yeah, we do.
So that was one of the big things for me, was going out, seeing other people from other groups ahead of me out bowling, laughing and having a good time. That gave me the sense that it was okay to live still.
Oh, I remember you saying to me that you were going out more after Diane passed than when she was here.
Yeah.
I always remember you saying
Yeah.
that to me, that
Yeah,
the
we
groups
went
and
out constantly.
every week something was happening and you had more time out during the week than you had before.
Yeah. So I'd always
People
do,
just join.
Out there.
we said yes to everything. I always did
That's
whatever
true.
somebody asked me to do.
Yeah.
That's
We
great.
did a lot of events, and I appreciate all those events. There were a lot of different things too, new
And I'm hoping that we
experiences.
get back to that,
Oh, I hope so
hoping-
too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to the church. I'm trying to get back to the building so that we could have it again, And
Yes.
hopefully we'll have something outdoors.
Well, that would be
Potluck
good.
outdoors.
Yeah, we're ready to see everybody. We're feeling,
Yes.
we're feeling ready for all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for
Thank
doing
you.
this interview.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Yeah.
You,
Thank
you
you.
are an
I'm
angel here on
hoping
earth.
that people will see this and know that we're the real deal and that we really
Yes.
help people get through their loss. And
Thank you for everything you do.
Yes.
and
Mhm.
that you're with
Thank
the
you,
same
Catherine.
age people too. That's the other thing. Like, not
Yes,
only the
that's
same
very
kind of
important.
loss. Yep. So